Hey, good evening, everyone. Hope everybody had a great day today. Hey, so today I want to talk a little bit about what separates great leaders from the mediocre leaders out there. And what I mean by that is, why do some leaders that we interact with, they seem to soar in their careers and whatever they endeavor to do, while others seem to stagnate at best? Often the answer is found in the amount of personal growth the leader's doing each day. That's the reality behind it. And what does this mean? Well, personal growth means having a deliberate, committed plan every day to expand your knowledge and experiences. For some, it can be as simple as just reading each day, dedicating 10, 20 pages a day to looking at books on any number of topics, from leadership to team development to coaching. Really what you're looking for is expanding your knowledge in areas where you may not be the strongest, or you may not have needed to be the strongest at this point, but as your team is developing or you're developing within your organization, you're having to expand that knowledge base. The other thing that you do in personal growth is you seek out new experiences that require you to move outside of your comfort zone. I like to refer to the comfort zone as the danger zone, the leadership danger zone. If you're comfortable, you're not growing, and so so it's the danger zone. I'll give you an example of that. I can recall early in my military career when I was asked at the last minute to step in and fill in for a instructor who was supposed to be teaching 250 people a specific block of instruction, of which I was not the most comfortable with the subject. I had a couple of days to prepare, so I went. I accepted, of course. I knew it was going to require me to expand myself, to dive into the knowledge, research it a little bit, understand the topic, think about how to present it to the audience, understand the audience I was going to be talking to. So there were a lot of factors at play here that required me to grow. And so, I didn't turn it down. I accepted it, like I said, and I went on that stage afraid. I was afraid, but I was confident that I was going to be better for the experience that I was having, and that was part of that daily growth experience. I gained something more than I expected that day, though. I gained the ability to relate back to this story when my team members were facing the same type of situation. So while I went through personal growth, I was able to give that back to my team. And so that's very important. That's a very important aspect of personal growth, is while you're growing personally, it's going to give you something to give back to your team as well. The other thing that a lot of people do during personal growth is the time to meditate and reflect and set daily goals. So you're meditating on the different factors that may have played out. What are some situations you're experiencing with your team? What are some areas you think you can improve upon yourself or with your team in the dynamics? You're reflecting on these things and meditating on these things, and then you're setting deliberate daily goals about how you're going to start to tackle those areas. Are you going to dive into new books so that you can expand your knowledge? Are you going to go step into some experiences with you and your team that allow you to expand beyond the current limitation? So personal growth obviously is very, very important for any leader looking to move from mediocrity to being successful. So what's the alternative for personal growth? And I think this is the part that a lot of people don't get. There is an alternative, and that's mediocrity and stagnation. You need to understand that success cannot thrive in the presence of mediocrity. It's not going to happen. The two they're polar opposites, and so they can't exist in the same space. So you need to understand that your leadership, essentially your personal growth and how much you're growing as a leader, really becomes the limiting factor for your team. You're the proverbial lid on how far your team can grow and what they can accomplish. So if you're not growing and you're not pushing yourself and raising your leadership bar, so to speak, they're going to be capped out at where you're at. You're the leader of the team. You become their cap. So what happens when you get to that point? If you're not growing and you start to become that cap for your team, you become insecure as a leader. You start to sense that the team is kind of challenging you and pushing you into areas you may not be comfortable, and so you become insecure in that. And what most leaders do in that situation is they resort to the good old-fashioned micromanagement. I'm going to create situations in which I'm comfortable and I'm in control of the situation. I'm going to limit creativity, because that means we might get into areas I'm not comfortable in, which would require me to move out of my comfort zone and grow, and I'm not willing to do that. So I'm going to micromanage the situation and the team. What happens at that point is you start to really limit the trust factor. Your team senses the micromanagement, they sense the lack of creativity, and they worry about risk-taking behaviors that really define high-performing teams. And so that trust becomes limited. And when trust becomes limited, I like to refer to trust as that proverbial foundation card in that house of cards. When you limit trust, you're literally yanking that foundation card out, and the house is going to crumble in. And one of the key indicators is the honest, open collaboration amongst the team is now stifled. When trust isn't there, people don't feel good talking honestly and openly and candidly about what's going on and what are the issues and challenges, or putting out creative thought, and so they withdraw and they stop with that candid conversation. And that, unfortunately, is one of the defining characteristics of high-performing teams: is good, honest, open, candid conversation. So your team is nowhere capable at this point of being high-performing. So at this point, you're no longer really just leading; you're micromanaging resources that are only going to do what you ask them to do. You've lost the influence that defines leadership at this point, and the team will dwindle. And eventually, you're going to lose talent as they go seeking out relationships, leadership relationships that will allow them to grow. So they're looking for that higher leadership bar, that higher leadership lid, where they're allowed to be creative and grow and be a part of a high-performing team. So you see, deliberate daily personal growth is like pouring proverbial water into a well that you're going to need to draw from later on when you need to motivate your team and lead them to achieve greater results than they thought they could. They will draw on your experiences and knowledge when theirs is limited. So you want to make sure your well is not empty when it comes time for that. Hope you all have a great day, and as always, go for great.